Yo! It's me, CSCRTT, baby! And welcome to Flashback Friday. I don't want to do this! Welcome to Flashback Friday, where I pick a movie from the 80s and I take a look at it. Today we are looking at the 1989 film Pet Sematary, starring Dale Midkiff. You know? Dale Midkiff, Denise Crosby, Fred Gwynn, and it's directed by Mary Lambert. I just realized something. Okay, so you should probably realize, by me going off the beginning of this video, that I had to restart this video. This time it was my fault. But I think I had such a good review going, other than I made a big mistake. I kept calling Mrs. Creed Marianne Creed, thinking that was her name. But in my first review of this, when I was going over it, that you won't see, I said the Creeds, and I said Creed, and I said not Apollo, and I said Louis Creed, and then I proceeded to call his wife Marianne. Marianne is not Louis Creed's wife. Marianne Creed is the wife of Apollo Creed from the Rocky movies. I'm an idiot. There was also a little bit that you're not going to get to see, and I thought it was the funniest thing in the review, where I messed up, and I said Fred Gwynn played Fred Munster, and I said, no. Herman Munster. I said, I must have confused the Munsters and the Flintstones. No, he plays Herman Munster on the Flintstones. That's what I said, and I realized I'm not going to get that moment back. And I hate when I have to re-record. And I can't get mad at the camera this time because it's my fault. It's my fault. Because I left the sound on my phone and my ringtone went off. And while it's just an audio of Tony Stark going, "I'm sorry, Earth is closed today," I have a feeling I get copyright for that. So I had to restart. As good as I was going with the review, too. So I'll do my best to continue this. But, so Pet Sematary. Okay, so I bought this back last year when the remake was coming out. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see the remake. I need to see the original. Because I've heard a lot about it, never seen it. And little did I know they were going to play both of the original two movies on TV. So I didn't really have to buy this, but I got this, and I just recently got Pet Sematary 2. So I figured, hey, I'll do the reviews. I'm not going to do all three today. Maybe I'll do the other two tomorrow. I want to watch Angel today, because I'm really kind of itching to watch some Angel. So, yeah. And, so this movie, what got me the first time I watched this, as well as the remake when I first watched it, is the endings. There are two different endings. But this ending always confused me as to why he would make certain decisions. Louis Creed would make certain decisions towards the end of this film. But now, I have an idea that it's a theory that may or may not be true. And as I was reviewing before, maybe I'm wrong, but it's just a thought. So, let's get going with this, alright? So, the story is about a family moving from where they come from in Chicago, I think, to Maine! Because a Stephen King story has to take place in fucking Maine! There are some that don't, but most of them do. Yes, it's written by Stephen King, based on a book by Stephen King, and even has a cameo from Stephen King. And, so this family moves to a house that's located, on at a place that I don't think could actually exist. If it does, then I'm wrong. But this is an area where they live next to a road, as Judd puts, where it's constantly, all day and some of the night, he says, has trucks going back and forth on the road. Is there a road in the world that exists like that? Because that's a very dangerous thing to put right in the middle of a neighborhood like that. Come on. It's just a thought. It's like, why would you build land like that? I don't know. But it fits for the story, I guess. So the story is there's this Micmac burial ground that nobody talks about. Judd takes the Creed family up to the Pet Sematary, and while Lewis looks at the path to the Micmac burial ground, nothing is really said. So Lewis is the doctor, and I'm sorry, I had such a good review going, and it sucks that I have to restart. You know, it's like Jason Smith from Sinister Cinema Review said, when you have to re-record a review, it's not as good as the first review that you did, because everything you did, you know, going through it, I didn't do a complete review. Like, he said he's done reviews where he's played it back and there's no sound. But I've done... It sucks, because it's like he says, you could do a review and then, you know, when you have to redo it, the magic is gone. And I feel like I was doing pretty good with my review. And now I have to kind of say the words over and over again, and it's not the same. I'm saying the same words, but it's not the same. Because, like I said, there was that little moment that I'll never get back where I messed up the Flintstone thing. And that's gone. So I apologize, but I'm trying to push through this, alright? Point is, everything's better the first time. Except for maybe sex. I don't know. But, Anyway, I lost it. See, there you go. Now there's the moment for you. I lost where the fuck I was supposed to be. Well, showed in Micmac burial ground, and it said, Lewis is a doctor. Right, okay. And he has a patient come in who's in a car accident. His name is Pascal, and he dies. And Pascal now starts haunting Lewis, telling him not to use the Micmac burial ground. Stay away, stay away. And, so Church, the family cat, gets ran over by a truck off screen. Of course, you don't want to hurt the kitty on screen. But it's okay to suggest that the little boy gets squished by the truck. But you're not even going to show a hint of the cat running into the road as the truck's barreling, but you can show the kid waddling out to the middle of the road. I'm just saying. And we'll get to that. If you're like, well, wait a minute, what little kid, what? If you've never seen this movie, stop watching this damn review. Go watch the goddamn movie, then come back. Like, I always put a warning on my reviews. Most of my movie ones. Spoilers. This one probably won't have spoiler warning on it, but my reviews do have spoilers. I've tried to do it without spoilers. It doesn't work. And I do a lot of older movies, so I just put spoilers anyway. It's easier for me to do spoilers. I know there's some people out there who do both a spoiler and a non-spoiler review. I'm not going to do that. It takes up too much time. And then I'd have to, because I do it like this, I have to remember, you know, I could do a revisited review at some point. Like I'm going to do with Die Hard, but I can't just do 2 reviews one after another like that. But anyway, yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie and then come back, alright? Because the spoilers, of course. Anyway, Uh, did it again. I did it again. The cat gets run over, and Judd decides to take Lewis to the Micmac burial ground, where he says that, you bury your own. You bury your own. And then he buries the cat. The cat comes back. The cat came back the very next day. And, actually it's that same night. And it's acting different, and it scratches Lewis. Now, my theory is that, okay, so in the book, there is this thing called a Wendigo that sort of controls the graveyard and sort of has a magical, touch, a magical influence over the people. And it seems like this was the start of the Wendigo's control over Lewis. And I think Judd, having lived there, and at this point, he's more affected than Lewis is. And when the cat died, the Wendigo used his sympathy for the young girl Ellie to control that and have him bury the cat. The cat now works as a servant for the Wendigo and scratches Lewis. Eventually, this corrupts Lewis when Gage is hit by a truck, and he has the idea to bury Gage in the Micmac burial ground to bring him back. Little 2-year-old Gage. I think this is the most logical solution to come by, because it seems like after the scratch, he acts normal, and then as soon as Gage dies, he starts to act like he's in a trance. And I know if you lost your child, it would be an experience you would never want to go through. I know I won't. I wouldn't. I won't. I don't. I can speak English. But I know it would affect you. But just the way that Midkiff acts in this scene, where Judd is talking to him and stuff, and he's just sitting there, and he says, no, don't you get no crazy ideas now. And what's the first thing he does? He goes and he digs up his son, and then he buries him in a Micmac burial ground. He comes back evil, and he slices Judd's leg. And Pascal's telling him don't do it, but he's not listening. So Pascal has to find another one who will listen. Ellie Creed. And I've heard people say that this means Ellie has The Shining. And I'm going to compare that to The Shining a little. I agree, because it's the Stephen King universe. She has The Shining, but I also think that because Lewis can see Pascal too, that he also has The Shining. And that's where Ellie got it from. Mrs. Creed doesn't, because even though Pascal follows her home when she realizes she needs to go back, and I'll get to that in a minute, she can't see him or hear him. And I think that's the big difference. She doesn't have The Shining. Her husband and her daughter do. And who knows about Gage? One thing I want to stop and talk about here is the fact that every time something big happens, the mom and the kids, they're never really around, other than Gage's death. That's about it. There was a maid or something that dies, but she's not really of any consequence. People think the Wendigo killed her because she was privy to the lore and everything. She knew what was going to happen. I don't know. And there's also a theory that I think the Wendigo lured Gage into the road to create more zombie people, knowing that since Church already scratched Lewis was becoming under his control, but needed more under his influence and needed a push, and this was the start of it. But yeah, they're conveniently not there. Like when Church dies, the wife and the kids are at her parents' house. Then after the funeral, they go back to the parents' house. It's like, what? And the they write in that Lewis doesn't get along with his wife's father, which is why he doesn't go. But it's just an excuse to get him alone to do the stuff in the movie. It's plot convenience. And then when Ellie says the name Paxcow, and Mrs. Creed finally realizes what she's saying, she runs back home. Gage comes to life, so to speak, and kills Judd by first slashing at his heel, and then murdering him. And so now we get to the ending. I don't understand. So Lewis comes to the conclusion he has to put Gage down along with the cat. He comes with the stuff that puts the cats to sleep and stuff. He's not a vet, but he uses it on the cat, puts the cat to sleep. We get a sad scene where he uses it on Gage, and Gage is going, "No fair. No fair." And then he finds his wife was murdered by Gage. Which I like the line. First I played with Judd, then I played with Mommy, now I want to play with you. Just how he says it on the phone. And he finds his wife dead. So what's the first thing he does? After coming to the conclusion that he needed to put his son down and it's not worth bringing him back to life, what does he do? He buries his wife in a Micmac burial ground. And she comes back to life. So what did that tell me watching this the first time? I was like, that makes no sense. But now, knowing about, what the book had in it and everything, he didn't have a choice because by this point, he wasn't in control of himself. As soon as he saw his wife dead, the influence from the Wendigo snapped him and used that to bring his wife and bury her in a Micmac burial ground. And it signifies at the end that he's about to die when she grabs the knife. It cuts to black and we hear him go, "No!" And the fact that they're not in the sequel, even though the sequel was supposed to be about Ellie Creed, I guess, but it's a good movie. I just think that if I go by the theory that the Wendigo was controlling everything, the ending makes sense. But if you take out the Wendigo influence of the Wendigo, I should say, the ending makes no sense. Where he just came to the conclusion that sometimes that is better, like Judd said. And he buries his wife anyway. The only thing that makes sense is if the Wendigo's influence got to him. And poor Ellie. But I'm telling you, in the remake, Gage gets worse. It's worse for Gage in the remake. But anyway, I'm gonna give it an 8. It's really enjoyable. The acting is over the top, but great. It was late 80s, late 90s, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, it gets an 8 from me. So what are your thoughts on Pet Sematary? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.